Alright everyone on the YouTubes, welcome back to the channel. Today is an educational video, so I've got the booklet out and I'm going to take you guys through the main topic of today, which is going to be carnivore diet. So the carnivore diet, what actually is it? It's as simple as it sounds, just eating meat. That is all it is. You're eating straight proteins, no carbs, no veg, no vitamins, no supplements. Fish is completely fine. Meat wise, it's just meat, right? For a lot of people, they'll be thinking, oh, this sounds fairly similar to the steak and egg sort of ketogenic diet, which there's a lot of stuff out there. You can do this research completely online, and I just wanted to give you guys a bit of my insight personally onto whether I think it is good, being a person that trains regularly in the gym, you know, consumes a large amount of protein in my diet, so to speak, compared to the average person, and see whether this sort of diet will benefit me or you guys watching as well. So we'll see whether this is useful. Okay, so before we start talking about the positives, we're gonna have a little look into the negatives of this diet. Now, as simple as it sounds, guys, if you're just eating one macronutrient, being it protein only, you're simply not gonna be getting carbs, micronutrients, greens, all of these sorts of other things you need in your diet to keep a well-balanced diet. And if you're training regularly, if you're doing different exercise, if you're an active person, you need these sorts of nutrients. And even if you're not, you still need these nutrients to have a balanced lifestyle. So the main negative is obviously going to be that you're not going to get those same sources of energy from carbs, for example. You're not going to be digesting foods in the same way that you would be if you had these micronutrients in your diet also. So this leads on to one of the key issues here. I've got a couple of notes here, so we'll be running through a couple of these. But one of the common issues for this diet is GI, which is the gastrointestinal issues that you can get, i.e. irritable bowel syndrome, constipation. They're sort of the two main things that come from GI issues, really. At the end of the day, if you don't have these sorts of micronutrients in your diet, you're simply going to be lacking elsewhere. So you're not going to be able to digest the foods in the way you would normally. There is a fine line between how much protein you should consume in a normal diet, especially if you're training, regularly in the gym, for example, and also if you're just not having enough protein at all. There's too much and there's too little. At the end of the day, it's the same with any macronutrient you have. If you have too much or too little of anything, it's always gonna be bad. It's always about finding that middle line. So on this diet, not only are you gonna be lacking vitamin C, potassium, phytonutrients, which is basically the plant-based chemicals that are used to prevent disease, you're gonna be missing all of these things. And if you've already got problems with your kidney and your liver, for example, it's very important to consider this moving forwards, whether it may or may not, depending on the individual. So there's plenty of information online, guys, about the effects of protein and your insulin in the liver and your kidneys. I definitely recommend checking out the low carb Beckenridge 2018 conference. They've got plenty of information online. One of the videos I definitely recommend checking out, guys, will be Dr. Benjamin Bikman's video on insulin versus glucagon and the effects of dietary protein. There's so much content on that page. Feel free to go and check it out. It'll be in the description below. So now we've got the facts out the way, I think it's really important to look at it from a sort of normal gym guy's perspective, or a bodybuilder, someone that goes and trains regularly. Is this a diet that is something that's going to be beneficial for you guys? That is the question you want to be asking yourself. I'd ask myself one of two things. Where are you now? What is it you want to achieve? And is this diet going to help you achieve that? That's the first thing you need to consider. Number two is going to be considering if you actually need to do this diet. Now, this is something that you may already incorporate into your diet without even really knowing. For example, you might just eat a large amount of protein and balance everything out and be perfectly happy, which is what I do, for example. I wouldn't necessarily take on this diet because I feel like my diet is fairly balanced already, so I don't really have that problem. But for some people, they might be like, oh, my protein's a little bit low. It's as simple as it sounds. If you want more protein, you're going to have more protein-dense foods, which is going to be meats, generally speaking. There's certain foods that are going to be better for you out there in terms of your insulin levels. I don't think it's something to necessarily consider unless you're really consuming between 1 and 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. A typical bodybuilder will probably have 0.5 to 1 gram of protein per body weight anyway, so it's really not the end of the world. If you're consuming large amount of protein, then yes, that's something you might need to consider. So to round this video up for you guys, the carnivore diet, is it for me? Personally, it's not. I like to have a well-balanced diet, as I just spoke about earlier. But for some people, they might be thinking to themselves, I don't really want low carbs. I want to follow sort of a more ketogenic diet. There's definitely a whole bunch of options out there. I'll do a bunch of videos on sort of diets. If you really do want that help, I'm more than happy to go into detail and get the pad out for you. Anyway, enough chatting. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe. Watch the most recent video, it'll be up there on the screen. Go and check it out. Massively appreciate the support, guys. I'll see you in the next one.